Banksia is a genus of around 170 species in the plant family Proteaceae. These Australian wildflowers and popular garden plants are easily recognized by the characteristic flower spikes and fruiting cones and heads. When it comes to size, banksias range from prostrate woody shrubs to trees up to 30 meters tall. They are generally found in a wide variety of landscapes: sclerophyll forest, rainforest, shrubland, and some more arid landscapes. They're not in Australia's deserts. Heavy producers of nectar, banksias are a vital part of the food chain in the Australian bush. They are an important food source for all sorts of nectarivorous animals, including birds, bats, rats, possums, stingless bees and a host of invertebrates. Furthermore, they are of economic importance to Australia's nursery and cut flower industries. However, these plants are threatened by a number of processes including land clearing, frequent burning and disease, and a number of species are rare and endangered. Description: Banksias grow as trees or woody shrubs. Trees of the largest species B. integrophilia and B. seminuda often grow over 15 meters tall, some even grow to standing 30 meters tall. Banksia species that grow as shrubs are usually erect, but there are several species that are prostrate, with branches that grow on or below the soil. The leaves of Banksia vary greatly between species. Sizes vary from the narrow, 1 to 1/2 centimeter long needle-like leaves of Bjørn to the very large leaves of B. grandis, which may be up to 45 centimeters long. The leaves of most species have serrated edges, but a few, such as B. integrophilia, do not. Leaves are usually arranged along the branches in irregular spirals, but in some species they are crowded together in whorls. Many species have differing juvenile and adult leaves. The character most commonly associated with Banksia is the flower spike, an elongated inflorescence consisting of a woody axis covered in tightly packed pairs of flowers attached at right angles. A single flower spike generally contains hundreds or even thousands of flowers. The most recorded is around 6,000 on inflorescences of B. grandis. Not all Banksia have an elongate flower spike, however. The members of the small isostylized complex have long been recognized as Banksias in which the flower spike has been reduced to a head, and recently, the large genus Triandra has been found to have arisen from within the ranks of Banksia, and sunk into it as B. Triandra. Thus, fewer than half of the currently accepted Banksia taxa possess the elongated flower spike long considered characteristic of the genus. Banksia flowers are usually a shade of yellow, but orange, red, pink and even violet flowers also occur. The color of the flowers is determined by the color of the perianth parts and often the style. The style is much longer than the perianth, and is initially trapped by the upper perianth parts. These are gradually released over a period of days, either from top to bottom or from bottom to top. When the styles and perianth parts are different colors, the visual effect is of a color change sweeping along the spike. This can be most spectacular in B. prionotes and related species, as the white inflorescence in bud becomes a brilliant orange. In most cases, the individual flowers are tall, thin saccate in shape. Occasionally, multiple flower spikes can form. This is most often seen in Banksia marginata and Bjørn. As the flower spikes are heads-aged, the flower parts dry up and may turn shades of orange, tan or dark brown color, before fading to gray over a period of years. In some species, old flower parts are lost, revealing the axis. In others, the old flower parts may persist for many years, giving the fruiting structure a hairy appearance. Old flower spikes are commonly referred to as cones, although they are not technically cones according to the botanical definition of the term. Cones only occur in conifers and cycads. Despite the large number of flowers per inflorescence, only a few of them ever develop fruit, and in some species a flower spike will set no fruit at all. The fruit of Banksia is a woody follicle embedded in the axis of the inflorescence. In many species, the resulting structure is a massive woody structure commonly called a cone. Each follicle consists of two horizontal valves that tightly enclose the seeds. The follicle opens to release the seed by splitting along the suture, and in some species each valve splits too. In some species the follicles open as soon as the seed is mature, but in most species most follicles open only after stimulated to death by bushfire. Each follicle usually contains one or two small seeds, each with a wedge-shaped papery wing that causes it to spin as it falls to the ground. Taxonomy. The genus Banksia was first described and named by Carolus Linnaeus the Younger in his April 1782 publication Supplementum Plantarum, hence the full name for the genus is Banksia l.f. The genus name honors the English botanist Sir Joseph Banks, who collected the first Banksia specimens in 1770, during James Cook's first expedition. Banksia belongs to the family Proteaceae, subfamily Grevilleoideae, and tribe Banksiae. There are around 170 species. Distribution and habitat. All but one of the living Banksia species are endemic to Australia. The exception is B. dentata, which occurs throughout northern Australia, and on islands to the north including New Guinea and the Aru Islands. An extinct species B. novae zelandii was found in New Zealand. The other species occur in two distinct geographical regions, southwest Western Australia and eastern Australia. Southwest Western Australia is the main centre of biodiversity. Over 90% of all Banksia species occur only there, from Exmouth in the north, south and east to beyond Esperance on the south coast. Eastern Australia has far fewer species, but these include some of best-known and most widely distributed species, including B. integrophilia and B. spinulosa. Here they occur from the Eyre Peninsula in South Australia right around the east coast up to Cape York in Queensland. The vast majority of Banksia are found in sandy or gravelly soils, though some populations of B. marginata and B. spinulosa do occur on heavier, more clay-like soils. B. seminuda is exceptional for its preference for rich loams along watercourses. Most occur in heathlands or low woodlands. Of the eastern species B. integrophilia and B. marginata occur in forests. Many southwestern species such as B. grandis, B. sphaerocarpa, B. sessilis, B. nobilis and B. dallini grow as understory plants in Jarrah, Wandoo and Karri forests, with B. seminuda being one of the forest trees in suitable habitat. Most species do not grow well near the coast, notable exceptions being the southern Western Australian species B. speciosa, B. praemorsa and B. repens. Only a few species, such as B. rosary and B. eldiana, occur in arid areas. Most of the eastern Australian species survive in uplands, but only a few of the Western Australian species native to the Stirling Ranges B. Solandria, B. oreophylla, B. brownie and B. montana survive at high altitudes. Studies of the southwestern species have found the distribution of Banksia species to be primarily constrained by rainfall. With the exception of B. rosary, no species tolerates annual rainfall of less than 200 mm, despite many species surviving in areas that receive less than 400 mm. Banksia species are present throughout the region of suitable rainfall, with greatest speciation in cooler, wetter areas. Hotter, dry regions around the edges of its range tend to have fewer species with larger distributions. The greatest species richness occurs in association with uplands, especially the Stirling Range. Evolution and fossil record. Banksia is a member of the ancient Southern Hemisphere family, Proteaceae. The closest relatives of Banksia are two genera of rainforest trees in North Queensland. There are many fossils of Banksia. The oldest of these are fossil pollen between 65 and 59 million years old. There are fossil leaves between 59 and 56 million years old found in southern New South Wales. The oldest fossil cones are between 47.8 and 41.2 million years old, found in Western Australia. Although Banksia is now only native to Australia and New Guinea, there are fossils from New Zealand, between 21 and 25 million years old. Ecology. Banksias are heavy producers of nectar, making them an important source of food for nectivorous animals, including honey-eaters and small mammals such as rodents, antechinus, honey possums, pygmy possums, gliders and bats. Many of these animals play a role in pollination of Banksia. Various studies have shown mammals and birds to be important pollinators. In 1978, Carpenter observed that some Banksias had a stronger odor at night, possibly to attract mammal pollinators. Other associated fauna include the larvae of moths and weevils, which burrow into the cones to eat the seeds and pupate in the follicles, and birds such as cockatoos, who break off the cones to eat both the seeds and the insect larvae. A number of Banksia species are considered rare or endangered. These include B. browni, B. cunita, B. goodii, B. oligantha, B. tricuspis, and B. verticillata. Response to fire. Banksia plants are naturally adapted to the presence of regular bushfires in the Australian landscape. About half of Banksia species are killed by bushfire, but these regenerate quickly from seed, as fire also stimulates the opening of seed-bearing follicles and the germination of seed in the ground. The remaining species usually survive bushfire, either because they have very thick bark that protects the trunk from fire, or because they have lignotubers from which they can resprout after fire. In Western Australia, Banksias of the first group are known as seeders and the second group as sprouters. Infrequent bushfires at expected intervals pose no threat and are in fact beneficial for regeneration of Banksia populations. However, too frequent bushfires can seriously reduce or even eliminate populations from certain areas, by killing seedlings and young plants before they reach fruiting age. Many fires near urban areas are caused by arson, and thus the frequency is often much higher than fires would have been prior to human habitation. Furthermore, residents who live in areas near bushland may pressure local councils to burn areas near homes more frequently, to reduce fuel load in the bush and thus reduce ferocity of future fires. Unfortunately, there are often discrepancies in agreed frequency between these groups and conservation groups. Dieback. Another threat to Banksia is the water mold Phytophthora cinnamomum, commonly known as dieback. Dieback attacks the roots of plants, destroying the structure of the root tissues, rotting the root, and preventing the plant from absorbing water and nutrients. Banksia's proteoid roots, which help it to survive in low nutrient soils, make it highly susceptible to this disease. All Western Australian species are vulnerable, although most eastern species are fairly resistant. Vulnerable plants typically die within a few years of infection. In southwest Western Australia, where dieback infestation is widespread, infested areas of Banksia forest typically have less than 30% of the cover of uninfested areas. Plant deaths in such large proportions can have a profound influence on the makeup of plant communities. For example, in southwestern Australia, Banksia often occurs as an understory to forests of jarrah, another species highly vulnerable to dieback. Infestation kills both the jarrah overstory and the original Banksia understory, and over time these may be replaced by a more open woodland consisting of an overstory of the resistant marri, and an understory of the somewhat resistant Banksia sessilis. A number of species of Banksia are threatened by dieback. Nearly every known wild population of B. browni shows some signs of dieback infection, which could possibly wipe it out within years. Other vulnerable species include B. cunita and B. verticillata. Dieback is notoriously difficult to treat, although there has been some success with phosphite and phosphorus acid, which are currently used to inoculate wild B. browni populations. However, this is not without potential problems as it alters the soil composition by adding phosphorus. Some evidence suggests that phosphorus acid may inhibit proteoid root formation. Because dieback thrives in moist soil conditions, it can be a severe problem for Banksias that are watered, such as in the cut flower industry in urban gardens. Uses. In the garden, most of species are shrubs. Only few of them can be found as trees, and they are very popular because of the size. The tallest species are B. integrifolia, having its subspecies B. integrifolia subsp. monticola, notable for reaching the biggest Banksias, and it is the most frost-tolerant in this genus. B. seminuda, B. literalis, B. serrata, species that can grow as small trees of big shrubs. B. grandis, B. prionotes, B. marginata, B. coccinea, B. speciosa and B. menziesii. Due to the size, these species are popularly planted in parks, gardens and streets. The remaining species in this genus are only shrubs. Banksias are popular garden plants in Australia because of the large, showy flower heads, and because the larger amounts of nectar they produce attracts birds and small mammals. Popular garden species include B. spinulosa, B. ericifolia, B. amula, B. serrata, Banksia media and the cultivar Banksia giant candles. Banksia species are primarily propagated by seed in the home garden, as cuttings can be difficult to strike. However, commercial nurserymen extensively utilize the latter method. Over time, dwarf cultivars and prostrate species are becoming more popular as urban gardens grow ever smaller. These include miniature forms under 50 cm high of B. spinulosa and B. media, as well as prostrate species such as B. petiolaris and B. blechnophilia. Banksias possibly require more maintenance than other Australian natives, though are fairly hardy if the right conditions are provided. They may need extra water during dry spells until established, which can take up to 2 years. If fertilized, only slow-release, low-phosphorus fertilizer should be used, as the proteoid roots may be damaged by high nutrient levels in the soil. All respond well to some form of pruning. Within the Australian horticultural community, there is an active subculture of Banksia enthusiasts who seek out interesting flower variants, breed and propagate cultivars, exchange materials and undertake research into cultivation problems and challenges. The main forum for exchange of information within this group is ASGAP's Banksia Study Group. Cut flower industry. With the exception of the nursery industry, Banksia have limited commercial use. Some species, principally B. coccinea, B. baxteri, B. Hookeriana, B. septrum, B. speciosa and B. menziesii are grown on farms in western and southern Australia, as well as Israel and Hawaii, and the flower heads harvested for the cut flower trade. The nectar is also sought by beekeepers, not for the quality of the honey, which is often poor, but because the trees provide an abundant and reliable source of nectar at times when other sources provide little. Woodworking Banksia wood is reddish in color with an attractive grain, but it is rarely used as it warps badly on drying. It is occasionally used for ornamental purposes in wood turning and cabinet paneling. It has also been used to make keels for small boats. Historically, the wood of certain species such as B. serrata was used for yokes and boat parts. The large cones, or seed pods of B. grandis are used for wood-turning projects. They are also sliced up and sold as drink coasters. These are generally marketed as souvenirs for international tourists. Woodturners throughout the world value Banksia pods for making ornamental objects. Indigenous uses. The indigenous people of southwestern Australia would suck on the flower spikes to obtain the nectar. They also soak the flower spikes in water to make a sweet drink. Banksia trees are a reliable source of insect larvae which are extracted as food. Selected species: B. archaeocarpa, B. integrophilia, B. seminuda, B. erysophilia, B. grandis, B. marginata, B. prionotes, B. dentata, B. novi zelandi, B. spinuloso, B. spherocarpa, B. sessilis, B. nobilis, B. dallani, B. preamorso, B. repens, B. rosary, B. elderiana, B. salandri, B. aureophila, B. brownie, B. montana, isostylized B. cunita, B. oligantha, B. goody, B. tricuspis, B. verticillata.